Everyone thought it was the end, that the most feared man in Korea, the Mafia boss who ruled the underworld with blood and silence, was finally gone. The mourners gathered, rivals who feared him, allies who profited from him, and one woman who'd cleaned his house for 3 years without ever being noticed. But she saw something no one else did. And in 5 seconds she was about to shatter everything. The funeral hall was magnificent. White lilies. Gold trim. Incense thick enough to choke on. Kang Dae-young lay in his coffin, hands folded, face peaceful. Dead at 52. The underworld Shadow King, finally defeated. By poison, they whispered. By betrayal, others suspected. By time, the official report claimed. But no one questioned it. Not here. Not with this many witnesses. Not with security at every exit and rival bosses in the front row wearing grief like expensive suits, performed, unconvincing, satisfied. She stood at the back. The maid. Black dress, white apron, hands clasped. Invisible. The way she'd always been. The way they preferred her. For 3 years she'd cleaned his floors, washed his sheets, brought his tea. For 3 years she'd been a ghost in his house. Seen nothing. Heard nothing. Existed only to serve and disappear. Except she'd seen everything. She'd learned his rhythms. The way he breathed. The way he moved. The language of his body that spoke louder than words ever could. And standing there, staring at that coffin, she saw something impossible. A finger. Twitching. Once. Barely. But unmistakable. Her breath caught. The priest began final rites. Korean words echoing off marble walls. 2 men in black suits stepped forward to close the coffin lid. This was it. The moment. Once that lid closed, once they sealed him inside, once they buried him. No one would ever know. Her hands trembled. She looked around. Security everywhere. Mourners watching each other more than the coffin. Exits blocked. Speaking now was suicide. Disrupting a mafia boss's funeral? You didn't survive that. You didn't even get the chance to regret it. But if she stayed silent, he'd be buried alive. And despite everything, despite the fear, despite the danger, despite 3 years of being invisible, she couldn't let that happen. She moved. Pushed through the crowd. Bodies turned. Confused murmurs. A hand grabbed her arm. She shook it off. Kept moving. Security noticed. Started closing in. Wait! Her voice cracked. Too quiet. No one heard. The men reached for the coffin lid. Wait! Louder now. Desperate. The priest paused. Heads turned. She was in the aisle now. 3 feet from the coffin. Security converging. She threw her hand up, stopping them, stopping everything, and screamed the words that would change everything. Stop! He's not dead! Silence. Absolute. Suffocating. Silence. Then chaos exploded. Voices erupted. Shouting. Accusations. Guards grabbed her arms. She fought back, pointing at the coffin, screaming through tears. Check his pulse. Please! He's not dead! Let her go. A woman's voice. Cold. Authoritative. The daughter. Designer black dress. Eyes like ice. She stepped forward. Let the doctor check. The room froze. The elderly doctor approached, hands shaking. He pressed fingers against Kang Dae-young's neck. Waited. 5 seconds. 10. His face drained of color. Oh my God! He whispered. Then louder, horrified. He has a pulse. Pandemonium. The maid collapsed to her knees, gasping. She looked up at the coffin just as the boss's eyes opened. Barely. Dark. Focused. Staring directly at her. His lips moved. No sound. But she read them clearly. Thank you? Then his eyes closed again. In that moment, everything changed. The invisible maid became the woman who stopped a funeral. The dead boss became a man betrayed. And the truth, the terrible, dangerous truth, began crawling out of its grave. Because if he wasn't dead, someone had tried very hard to make sure he would be. And that someone was still in the room. Still watching. If you're still watching right now, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Subscribe to our channel for stories that can make you smile, and can also make you cry for absolute strangers. Now, let's get into the story. The hall had been meticulously prepared. Every detail perfect. Every flower placed with precision. Every mourner positioned according to rank and importance. This wasn't just a funeral. It was theater. A final performance for a man who'd spent 30 years controlling Seoul's underworld from the shadows. Kang Dae-young's death had been sudden but not unexpected. 52. Heart complications, the doctors said. Natural causes, the death certificate claimed. Convenient timing, his rivals thought but didn't say aloud. The maid knew better. She'd been there that morning. Had brought his tea like always. Had watched him drink it like always. Had seen him collapse 20 minutes later, gasping, clawing at his chest. Not a heart attack. Poison. She'd recognized the symptoms from years of cleaning up after his business. The purple tint to his lips. The way his pupils dilated. The tremors that weren't quite seizures. But when she tried to call for help, security had stopped her. The family has been notified. Return to your duties. So she had. Cleaned the bedroom. Washed the teacup. Erased the evidence like she'd been trained to do for 3 years. Except she'd kept one thing. The tea bag. Hidden in her apron pocket. Proof. Now she stood in the back of his funeral, watching them prepare to bury him. Watching them seal away the truth. She'd almost convinced herself to stay silent. Almost. Then she saw it. His hand. Inside the coffin. Fingers twitching. Just once. So subtle no one else noticed. But she'd spent 3 years learning his body language. Knew the difference between death and unconsciousness. Knew he was still fighting. The men reached for the coffin lid. Her body moved before her mind caught up. Pushing through expensive suits and designer grief. A hand tried to stop her. She shoved past. Wait! Too quiet. No one heard. The lid started closing. Wait! Louder. Heads turned. She was running now. Security moving to intercept. She threw herself forward, hands slamming down on the coffin edge, and screamed with everything she had. Stop! He's not dead! The hall exploded. Voices shouting. Guards grabbing her. Someone screamed. The daughter stood slowly, face unreadable. And in the chaos, nobody noticed. Nobody except her. The boss's chest. Rising. Falling. Barely. Impossibly. Alive. Hands grabbed her from behind. Rough. Professional. Security didn't ask questions. She fought back, screaming, pointing at the coffin. He's breathing! Check him! Please! One of the guards twisted her arm. Shut up! You're making a scene! He's alive! A rival boss stood, smirking. The help has lost her mind. Remove her. But the daughter raised one hand. Silent command. Everyone froze. She walked forward slowly, heels clicking on marble. Stopped inches from the maid's face. You're certain? Her voice was ice. The maid nodded, gasping. I brought him tea this morning. 20 minutes later he collapsed. Purple lips. Dilated pupils. Tremors. That's not a heart attack. That's poison. The daughter's expression didn't change. And you know this how? I've cleaned up after his work for 3 years. I've seen what poison does. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The daughter stared at her. Calculating. Then turned to the doctor. Check him. Now. The elderly man approached reluctantly. Pressed fingers to the boss's neck. Waited. His eyes widened. There's a pulse. Faint. Irregular. But it's there. The hall erupted. Accusations flew. Rival bosses demanding answers. Allies shouting for security. The daughter's voice cut through like a blade. Lock the doors. No one leaves. Security moved immediately. Mourners panicked. Someone tried to run. Was stopped. Brought back. The maid collapsed against the wall, legs shaking. She'd done it. Exposed the truth. Saved him. And signed her own death warrant. Because now everyone knew. She'd seen too much. Knew too much. Was too dangerous to let live. The daughter looked at her. You. Come here. The maid obeyed. Had no choice. The daughter leaned close, whispered. If he dies, you die with him. If he lives, you're the only person in this room I can trust. Choose wisely which outcome you prefer. Then louder, to the doctor. Save him. Whatever it takes. The coffin shook. Just slightly. The boss's hand twitched. His chest rose. Fell. Fighting. Still fighting. And somewhere in that room, the person who'd poisoned him was watching. Waiting. Realizing their plan had failed. For now. They moved the boss to a private room. Medical equipment wheeled in. Doctor working frantically. The maid stood against the wall, guards on either side. Not protecting her. Realized. He'd been awake longer than anyone knew. Had heard everything. The accusations. The confessions. The fear. He knew exactly who'd tried to kill him. Or at least, he was starting to. If you're still watching, drop a still watching in the comments, because this next part changes everything. The daughter's name was Kang Seo-yeon. She'd been estranged from her father for 5 years. Left the family business. Built her own empire in real estate. Legal. Clean. Everything he wasn't. She'd only returned for the funeral. To make sure he was really dead. Now she was trapped. Doors locked. Assassins in the room. And a father who might not forgive her absence. She pulled the maid into a side room. What's your name? Amara. Amara. You understand what's happening here. Someone tried to kill your father. And they're still in this building. More than that. This wasn't just murder. This was a coup. Someone wants his position. His territory. His empire. Killing him was step 1. The funeral was step 2. By the time anyone realized he'd been poisoned, they'd have already consolidated power. Who benefits most? Seo-yeon pulled out her phone. Showed surveillance photos. 3 primary contenders. Park Min-ho. His second in command. Been with him 20 years. Lee Jae-won. Financial advisor. Controls the money. And Young Tae-il. Head of security. Controls access. Amara stared at the photos. I've seen them. They all visited the house in the past week. When? Park came Tuesday. Argued with your father about expansion into Busan. Lee came Wednesday. Talked about offshore accounts. Young comes daily. He's always here. And the voices you heard? 3 nights ago? Amara closed her eyes. Tried to remember. One was older. Authoritative. The other younger. Nervous. The older one said you're certain the poison is undetectable? The younger one said I've tested it. It'll look like cardiac arrest. Tested it. So we're looking for someone with medical knowledge or lab access. Or both. A knock at the door. Young Tae-il. Head of security. Late 40s. Face like stone. Ma'am. Your father is asking for you. Seo-yeon stood. Both of us. Young's eyes flicked to Amara. He specifically requested you alone. I don't go anywhere without her. Not until we know who's trustworthy. I've served your father for 15 years, and someone's been poisoning him for at least 3 days. So forgive me if I don't trust 15 years of service over fresh suspicion. Young's jaw tightened. As you wish. They followed him through the hall. Mourners still gathered. Whispering. Watching. Security positioned at every exit. The boss had been moved to a master bedroom. Medical equipment beeping quietly. He sat propped against pillows. Color returning. Eyes clear. Alert. Dangerous. He looked at Seo-yun. You came back. For your funeral. Not your recovery. Honest. Good. I raised you right. You didn't raise me at all. Mother did. Before you had her killed. The words hung. Sharp. True. He didn't deny it. She betrayed me. You know the rules. I know you're a monster. That hasn't changed. No. But I'm alive because of her. He nodded toward Amara. That changes something. Seo-yun crossed her arms. What do you want? To find who did this. And kill them slowly. You want that too. Different reasons. Same goal. So we work together. Temporarily. And after? After, you go back to pretending I don't exist. And I let you. But right now I need your brain. And you need my resources. He looked at Amara. And I need her eyes. She sees things others miss. Young stepped forward. Sir, with respect, she's a maid. She has no training. She stopped my funeral. Saved my life. What have you done lately? Young went silent. But his eyes promised violence. The boss coughed. Someone in this house poisoned me. Someone with access. Opportunity. Motive. I have suspicions. But I need proof. Amara. The voices you heard. Can you identify them if you heard them again? She nodded. I think so. The older one had a slight accent. Gyeongsang dialect. The younger one stuttered. Just once. On the word undetectable. The boss's eyes narrowed. Interesting. Very interesting. Why? Because only 3 people in my organization have Gyeongsang accents. And one of them is standing in this room. Every eye turned to Young. He went pale. Sir, I would. Never, you've been loyal. I don't suspect you. But your cousin. The one you hired last month to help with security rotations. Where's he from? Young's face drained completely. Jeonju. But he's family. He'd never. Family is the first to betray. You should know that. He looked at Seo-yun. Find him. Bring him here. Quietly. She nodded. Left immediately. The boss looked at Amara. You're afraid of me? Yes. Good. Fear keeps you honest. But know this. You saved my life. That buys you protection. For now. But if you're lying, if you're part of this, I'm not. Then prove it. Help me find who did this. And I'll make sure you never have to be invisible again. It wasn't a promise. It was a transaction. But it was the closest thing to safety she'd ever been offered. While they searched for Young's cousin, the boss drifted in and out of consciousness. In those moments, Amara saw something she'd never seen before. Vulnerability. He muttered in his sleep. Names. Dates. Apologies that sounded like confessions. Sujin. I'm sorry. I had no choice. His first wife. Seo-yun's mother. Dead 15 years. Officially a car accident. Unofficially, everyone knew. He'd had her killed for sleeping with his rival. Except Amara had cleaned his study. Had seen the private letters locked in his desk drawer. Love letters. From him to her. Begging her to stay. Promising to change. She hadn't stayed. So he made sure no one else could have her either. That's who he was. A man who loved so completely that betrayal became death sentence. Amara understood that. Not the killing. But the loving wrong. She'd loved wrong once too. Back in Atlanta. Before Korea. Before running. Before becoming invisible. She'd loved a man who'd promised protection and delivered prison. Who'd owned her with kind words and cruel hands. Who'd taught her that survival meant disappearing. She'd escaped him the way she'd escaped everything else. Quietly. Carefully. Leaving no trace. That's why she recognized the boss's pain. Different circumstances. Same wound. Love that became weapon. Trust that became trap. Seo-yun returned. Alone. Face grim. Young's cousin is gone. Security footage shows him leaving through the service entrance 20 minutes after the funeral started. Before anyone knew the boss was alive. He ran. Amara said. He knew it failed. Seo-yun nodded. Which means he's reporting back to whoever hired him. They'll try again. Soon. The boss's eyes opened. Fully this time. Clear. Alert. Listening. He'd heard everything. Seo-yun, he said quietly. I need to tell you something. Before this goes further. What? Your mother. The night she died. She wasn't betraying me. She was running from me. Taking you? She knew what I was. Wanted better for you. Seo-yun went still. You killed her anyway. I killed her because she was taking you. Because I couldn't let go. Because I'm exactly what you think I am. He looked at Amara. That's why she understands. She's run from monsters too. Haven't you? Amara didn't answer. Seo-yun moved first. Grabbed a metal shelf. Swung it. The boss caught it mid-swing. Didn't flinch. Interesting reaction. Did you think I was here to hurt you? His voice was calm. Too calm. You're supposed to be fighting attackers. I was. They're dealt with. Now I'm checking on you. Is that a problem? Seo-yun didn't lower the shelf. You're standing between us and the exit. That feels like a problem. He stepped aside. Then leave. But know this, those men came for something specific. And they knew exactly where to look. Someone told them. Amara's chest tightened. Told them what? Where the safe room is. Which means someone in my house is feeding information to my enemies. Someone who knew about this room. That's a very short list. He looked at Seo-yun. You've been gone 5 years. Suddenly you're back. Suddenly there's an attack. You think I think coincidences don't exist in my world. I think everyone has a price. I think even family betrays when the offer is right. Then why not just kill me? Because you're still useful. And because... He glanced at the crib. Saw their faces. Ah. You found that. Seo-yun's voice went ice cold. Who is the child? Insurance. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. He turned to Amara. We're moving. The house is compromised. Grab what you need. We have 3 minutes before the second wave arrives. Second wave? You thought 6 men was the full attack? That was reconnaissance. Testing defenses. Finding weaknesses. The real assault comes now. As if on cue, explosions rocked the building. Distant. Then closer. Seo-yun grabbed Amara's arm. Where do we go? The boss moved to a false wall. Pressed hidden switches. Another passage opened. Follow. Stay close. Don't stop for anything. They ran. Through narrow corridors. Behind walls. Spaces between rooms most people didn't know existed. Gunfire echoed above. Shouts. Screams. The estate was being torn apart. They reached a stairwell. Down. Deeper. Below ground level. Where does this lead? Garage. Vehicles. Escape routes. 3 different exits. We split up. Harder to track. You're coming with us? I'm the target. Your leverage. Separating increases survival odds. They burst into the garage. 6 cars. All armored. Engines already running. Jung was there. Bloodied. Sir? We've lost the east wing. They're using explosives. Professional grade. How many? 20. Maybe more. They're not here to negotiate. The boss grabbed keys. Threw a set to Seo-yun. Take the Range Rover. Head west. Don't stop until you're out of Seoul. What about you? I have unfinished business. He looked at Amara. You go with her. Stay alive. I'll find you when this is over. What if you don't survive? Then you'll have witnessed my death twice in one day. That's got to be some kind of record. He almost smiled. Then an explosion tore through the wall. Concrete. Fire. Screaming metal. Amara was thrown sideways. Hit a car. Vision blurred. She heard Seoyun shouting. Felt hands pulling her. They were in the car. Moving. Tires screaming. Bullets hitting the armored hull like rain. She looked back. Saw the boss. Still standing. Gun in hand. Firing at shadows. Then the garage collapsed. Smoke. Fire. Everything disappearing. No! Amara screamed. Seoyun didn't slow down. He knew. He planned this. He always plans this. He's going to die. He's been dying for 30 years. Never works. They burst onto the street. 2 cars followed. Pursued vehicles. Seoyun swerved. Hold on! Through traffic. Red lights ignored. Pedestrians scattering. Bullets shattered the back window. Amara ducked. Glass everywhere. Seoyun took a hard turn. Alley. Narrow. One pursuer followed. The other lost. But the one behind them was gaining. Amara looked back. Saw the driver. Young. Determined. Gun raised. Then something hit their pursuer from the side. Another car. Black. Armored. T-boned the pursued vehicle. Sent it spinning. Crashing. The black car pulled alongside them. Window lowered. The boss. Driving. Bloodied. Alive. He looked at them. Nodded. Follow me. Then accelerated. Leading them into the night. And Amara realized he'd never planned to stay. The collapse was theater. The sacrifice was misdirection. He'd escaped through a route no one else knew. Because he always kept one secret. One exit. One backup plan. Even from his daughter. Especially from his daughter. They drove for an hour. Changed vehicles twice. Ended in a warehouse district. Abandoned. Off the grid. The boss killed the engine. Stepped out. Perfectly composed. Like he hadn't just survived explosions and gunfire. Seoyun slammed her door. What the hell was that? Necessary. You knew they were coming. You let them attack. I needed to see who'd run. Who'd fight. Who'd betray. Now I know. Amara's stomach dropped. That was a test? Everything is a test. Survival. Loyalty. Trust. You either pass or you become a lesson for others. People died. People always die. The question is whether their deaths teach us something useful. Today's did. Seoyun stepped between them. You used us as bait. I used everyone as variables. You both survived. That means you're valuable. Or lucky. We'll see which. You're insane. I'm thorough. There's a difference. He walked to a steel door. Unlocked it. Inside was a clean room. Medical supplies. Computers. Weapons. Everything needed for a prolonged siege or disappearance. Welcome to Contingency Plan 7. We'll be here for a while. Amara couldn't move. The poison. The funeral. All of it was real. The assassination attempt was genuine. Someone tried to kill me. I just used the aftermath to expose deeper betrayals. Jung's cousin was telling the truth. They do have his sister. They did force him. But he wasn't the only mole. There are others. And now I know who they're afraid of. Who they report to. What they want. How? Because I let them think they'd won. Let them think I was weak. Vulnerable. Exposed. People show their true selves when they think you can't retaliate. Seoyun's voice was hollow. You're a monster. I'm a survivor. You're learning the difference. He pulled out files. Photos. The attack was orchestrated by Park Min-ho, my second in command. 20 years of loyalty. All performance. He's been building his own network. Waiting for weakness. I gave him the opportunity. He took it. Where is he now? Being dealt with. Jung is handling it. Personally. Thoroughly. Amara felt sick. You orchestrated your own near-death to catch a betrayer? I orchestrated controlled chaos to expose multiple betrayers. Park was the obvious one. But there are others. People who celebrated too quickly. Who moved too confidently. Who revealed positions they shouldn't have known. He showed them surveillance footage. The funeral. The attack. Time-stamped. Annotated. People circled in red. These 7. All compromised. All working with Park. All thinking they'd inherit pieces of my empire. What happens to them? What always happens to betrayers? His phone buzzed. He answered. Listened. His expression didn't change. But something behind his eyes went cold. Understood. Clean it up. He hung up. Looked at Seo-yun. Jung is dead. Killed protecting the evidence. Park's people got to him before he could extract confessions. The words hit like physical blows. Jung. Dead. Protecting them. Protecting the truth. Seo-yun sat down slowly. He was loyal. Always. He was. That's why they killed him. Loyalty makes you predictable. Predictable makes you vulnerable. You don't even care. I care that I've lost my head of security. I care that someone I trusted for 15 years is gone. I care that his death costs me tactical advantage. But I don't have time to mourn. Neither do you. Amara couldn't stay quiet. He died for you. For this. And you're just calculating losses? He died doing his job. Protecting what matters. That's the only death worth having in this world. I'll honor him by finishing what he started. He pulled up security feeds. Live. Current. We have a problem. Police are surrounding my estate. And 3 rival families just sent representatives. They're converging. All of them. Here. Seo-yun looked at the screen. They know where we are. No. They know where they think I am. Which means someone is feeding them bad information. Someone who wants them to find an empty building. While we're here. Why would anyone do that? Because. Someone wants a war. Between me and every authority in Seoul. Police think I'm a terrorist now. Rivals think I'm exposed. Everyone wants a peace. But they're looking in the wrong place. How long do we have? Hours. Maybe less. Before they realize I'm not where they think. Before they expand their search. Before they find this location. Amara stared at the screens. Police. Mafia. All converging. We're trapped. We're positioned. There's a difference. Trapped means no options. Position means choosing which option costs least. Seo-yun stood. What's the plan? Survival. Then revenge. Then rebuilding. In that order. And us? Are we still variables? Still being tested? He looked at them both. You stopped being variables when you chose to follow me instead of run. Now you're assets. Valuable ones. Which means I'll protect you. Until you give me reason not to. Outside, sirens wailed. Helicopters circled. The net was closing. And somewhere in Seoul, Park Min-ho was watching. Waiting. Believing he'd already won. He was wrong. But proving it might cost everything. Amara finally snapped. I'm done. The boss looked up from his screens. Excuse me? I'm done being used. Tested. Positioned. I'm not a piece in your game. I'm a person. And I'm leaving. The building is surrounded. Then I'll surrender. Tell them everything. The poison. The funeral. The bodies. All of it. You'll be dead before you reach the door. Better than being your pawn. He stood. Slowly. You think you're a pawn? You stopped my funeral. Saved my life. Exposed betrayers. You're the reason I'm still alive. That's not a pawn. That's a queen. I'm a maid. You were a maid. Now you're the woman who knows too much to ever go back. You're trapped in this world whether you like it or not. Because of you. Because you chose to speak. No one forced you. You could have stayed silent. Let me die. Walked away clean. But you didn't. You saved me. Now live with the consequences. Seo-yun stepped between them. Enough. Both of you. We have hours before they find us. Fighting each other wastes time. The boss's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Kong. A voice. Distorted. Your estate is ashes. Your men are scattered. Your empire is crumbling. Surrender now and I'll let the women live. Park. Smart man. Here's what happens. You come to me. Alone. Unarmed. I film your confession. You admit to crimes. Then I kill you quickly. Refuse, and I kill them slowly while you watch. The boss's expression didn't change. Counter offer. I find you. I film your confession. Then I let you choose which body part one remove first. You're surrounded. Outnumbered. Exposed. You've lost. I've been outnumbered before. Didn't take. He hung up. Looked at Seo-yun and Amara. He'll escalate. Target what I care about. Which means you're both liabilities now. Seo-yun's voice went cold. You're leaving us. I'm drawing fire away. There's a difference. We'll be captured, you'll be protected. I've arranged it. Extraction in 20 minutes. Different route. Different destination. You'll be safe. And you? I'll be busy. He grabbed weapons. Loaded them with practiced efficiency. Amara grabbed his arm. This is suicide. This is necessary. Park wants a war. I'm giving him one. On my terms. You'll die. Probably. But so will he. That's the point. He pulled free. Walked to the door. Stopped. Thank you? For saving me. For giving me time to finish this. It mattered. Then he was gone. The door locked behind him. Seo-yun and Amara stood in silence. 20 minutes later, extraction arrived. Unmarked van. Professional team. They were loaded. Driven. Relocated. Safe house. Armed guards. Everything the boss promised. Except him. Days passed. No word. No contact. Just news reports. Explosions across Seoul. Mafia war. Bodies. Investigations. Then silence. Park Min-ho found dead. Single gunshot. Execution style. The boss's estate? Burned. His accounts? Frozen. His empire? Shattered. And him? Missing. Presumed dead. No body recovered. No confirmation. Just gone. 6 months later. Seoul had moved on. The Mafia war was history. New players filled old territories. Power redistributed. Life continued. Amara worked at a different estate now. Legitimate. Legal. Cleaning for a tech executive who didn't ask questions about her past. She kept her head down. Stayed invisible. The way she'd learned. Except she wasn't invisible anymore. People recognized her. The maid who stopped a funeral. The woman who'd survived the Kong family's destruction. She was famous. Quietly. Dangerously. Seo-yun had taken control of what remained. Not the criminal empire. That died with her father. But the legitimate businesses. Real estate. Investments. Holdings worth billions. She'd rebuilt. Legally. Ruthlessly. And she'd kept her promise. Protected Amara. Set her up with job. New identity. Safety. They met once a month. Coffee. Neutral location. Never the same place twice. Today was one of those days. Seo-yeon arrived first. Designer suit. Controlled power. Different from the woman who'd run through gunfire. "You look well," she said. "I'm surviving. That's more than most can say." They sat. Ordered. Small talk that meant nothing. Then Seo-yeon leaned forward. "I found something. In my father's files. Encrypted. Took months to crack." "What was it?" "The child. The one in the safe room. I found out who it belongs to." Amara's chest tightened. "Who?" "Me." The word hung. "What?" "I had a daughter. 5 years ago. Before I left. Father took her. Said she wasn't safe with me. That my lifestyle would get her killed. I thought she was dead. He let me think that. But he was raising her. In secret. As insurance. As leverage. As—" her voice broke. "As family. Where is she now?" "Safe. Hidden. I see her once a week. She doesn't know who I am yet. Thinks I'm a friend. But someday, when it's safe, I'll tell her." "Is it ever safe? In your world?" "No. But we pretend. We protect. We survive. That's all anyone does." Amara sipped her coffee. "Do you think he's dead? Really dead this time?" Seo-yeon was quiet. "I don't know. No body was found. No confirmation. Just absence. But absence isn't death. Not with him. Would you want him alive? I don't know. He was a monster. But he was my father. And he saved us. In his own twisted way. He drew fire away. Let us escape. That counts for something. Does it erase everything else? No. But it complicates it. That's all we get in this world. Complications." They finished their coffee. Stood. Said goodbye. Amara walked home. Different route. Always different. Habit now. Survival. She reached her apartment. Unlocked the door. Stopped. Something was different. A presence. She turned. A man sat in her living room. Back to her. Watching the window. "Hello, Amara." The voice. Familiar. Impossible. She couldn't breathe. He turned. Older. Thinner. Scarred. But alive. Kang Dae-young. The boss. The ghost. The man who died 6 months ago. "You're dead," she whispered. "I'm unavailable." "There's a difference." "How?" "Carefully. Strategically. I let them think they'd won. Let Park believe he'd destroyed me. Then I destroyed him. Quietly. Thoroughly. No witnesses. Why come back? Because I made a promise. You saved me. I owe you protection. That debt doesn't expire just because I'm dead. I don't want your protection. You don't have a choice. My enemies are still looking. For leverage. For revenge. For anyone connected to me. That includes you. Seo-yeon knows. We've been in contact. She's keeping the child safe. I'm keeping you safe. That's the arrangement. I don't want to be part of this. You became part of this the moment you screamed in my funeral. Now you live with it. Or you die ignoring it. Your choice. He stood. Walked to the door. Stopped. Thank you? For what you did. For who you are. Most people would have stayed silent. You didn't. That matters. Where will you go? Somewhere they're not looking. For now. But I'll be back. Eventually. There's still unfinished business. Still people who need to pay. Still an empire to rebuild. Let it stay. Dead. Empires don't die. They sleep. And I'm very good at waking things up. He left. Silent as always. Amara stood alone in her apartment. Heart racing. Mind spinning. He was alive. Still dangerous. Still calculating. Still pulling strings. And she was still connected. Still valuable. Still trapped. She walked to the window. Looked out at Seoul. Wondered how many other ghosts were walking around. How many other people presumed dead were actually just waiting. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Just 3 words. This is beginning. Not the beginning. Just beginning. Continuous. Ongoing. Never-ending. She deleted it. But she knew. Knew it was true. Knew the funeral had been a beginning. The escape had been a beginning. His return was a beginning. Everything was always beginning. Nothing ever ended. Not in this world. Not for people like them. She whispered to her reflection in the window. To herself. To anyone listening. This is just the beginning. And somewhere in Seoul, in shadows and safe houses and secret rooms, a mafia boss smiled. Because she'd learned the most important lesson. In his world, survival wasn't about reaching the end. It was about learning to live in the beginning. Forever. Always. Until you couldn't anymore. If you made it this far, thank you, seriously. Here's what I want to know. Would you have stopped the funeral? Would you risk everything to save someone dangerous? Comment stop if you'd have screamed like she did. Comment silent if you'd have stayed quiet. Where are you watching from? Have you ever saved someone who ended up changing your life? Subscribe if you haven't. These stories need you. Next week, she was his prisoner for 6 months, then discovered she'd been legally married to him the entire time. Until then, remember, sometimes saving someone doesn't set you free. Sometimes courage traps you in worlds you never wanted to see. And sometimes the dead don't stay dead, they just learn to hide better. This was just the beginning.